Hey guys, welcome to the Center Bounce. Today we are going through everything that is the trade period, the draft, all
hmm
of this mumbo jumbo that a lot of you out there have a lot of questions about. Isn't that right, Big J?
Mate, anything to stop people having to watch trade radio and the abundance of bloody ads. Hey, do you want to go to KFC, Toyota tires, and all these? Half an
Continental
hour.
tires.
Yeah,
Stuff your
half
Continental.
an hour of that, and it's like, just turn that shit off. So at least you can watch us over the trade period coverage. We're doing this video. We're doing kind of what targets we're after as well. And then we'll cover kind of all the major trades and things like that as they drop. So, yeah, stay tuned for that as well.
Absolutely. And as you guys would have seen last year, we are going to be also, of course, staying tuned with the draft when
Mm-hmm.
that comes along. And you will know by the end of this video when the national draft will take place. So make sure you take your notes because we are going through everything draft, everything trade, and it all starts with the restricted free agency and unrestricted free agency period from Friday, October 6th. That's
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow to Friday, October 13th.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because a lot of the time, like, there's always talk in the trade period, things like that. Hey, or at least leading up to the trade period, this player's going here, they've nominated this club. This is the time when that actually happens in the free agency. Clubs like North Melbourne, hey, we find out what players or what picks we're going to get for players. All of your oldies start to leave, all your free agents that they checked out halfway through the season, they're all going as well.
Now, you might be hearing the word free agent used a lot, and you might be wondering what is a free agent? There's an unrestricted free agent, there's a restricted free agent. We get it. It can be a little bit confusing, but we're going to walk you through what that is. Right here, as you can see on the screen, an unrestricted free agent is a player who's coming out of contract who can just automatically move to a club of their choice. We get an
Yeah.
example here of Todd Goldstein. He has had a wonderful, illustrious career over there at North Melbourne. He's now got to a stage where he can just decide to come to Essendon like he has, and he just has to notify the club saying, "Hey guys, I'm off to Essendon. It's been a pleasure." No
Yeah.
strings attached, no extra things there.
The big thing to remember, though, with unrestricted free agents is that they have to play in the system for 8 years. So once the 8 years is up, then they can. If you're just a player coming out of contract, there needs to be some trades happening between the two clubs.
Yep. What you'll end up finding is if you're a player that hasn't played for 8 years, you might be hearing the word that they are a restricted free agent. And that is different to an unrestricted free agent in that their movement ability coming out of contract is restricted.
Now, that's a little bit confusing, Joe. I'm not sure if you've got that right there. The difference between an unrestricted and a restricted is really just the amount of money that they were contracted before they head into the free agency period. So unrestricted free agent, 8 years, that's it. No worries. Everyone's unrestricted. And you'll hear sometimes a player will be like, cool, we've taken this new contract through to free agency. So a lot of the younger players, Norton, Sheasel and a few of these other guys, they've got contracts past their 8 year mark. So after that, they're unrestricted free agents. Now, restricted free agents still qualify for that, but they're in the top 25% earners at their club, and that's why they're restricted. So if we look at Ben Mackay here, when he was at North Melbourne, he was in the top 25% of earners, so top 25% contract at the club. When he leaves, you'd assume that he's a favourable player because of the contract, so that's why he's unrestricted. Well, that's why he's restricted.
Now, you wouldn't expect someone, though, who hasn't played more than 8 years, though, to be in the top 25% of their income earners, unless, of course, you're someone who's an absolute superstar like Nick Dacos or
Yeah,
Harry Shees or things like that. You tend to have to build up a career in order for you to be valued so much by your club. But as you
yeah,
say, you're someone who is of great importance, established in the team. The team absolutely needs you, and this player decides to want to leave to go to another club. They nominate a club, but rather than just simply walking out the door and going there,
mm,
their club, their original club, can decide, no, we're going to match the offer that was made by your new prospective team, and that, of course, leads to some interesting things.
yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw a couple of years ago with Danaher, who went to Brisbane. who was a restricted free agent because he was on a big contract at Essendon weren't going to get a top 10 pick. They weren't going to get a start of first round pick or after their first pick in the draft. So they said, hey, we're going to pretend to Matt. You better give him some more money. You better offer him something that's actually worth the band one compensation, as we say there in the dot point. So, yeah, we'll let him go for the price that we want. There's about 3 or 4 different times when things can happen where that compensation comes in. We always hear about Ben Mackay is kind of the talk of the town at the moment. North Melbourne, we finished second last. Our draft pick is pick 2. Ben Mackay leaves, start of the first round pick, or after our first round pick, we get pick 3. You know, after that time, it's end of the first round, which is around that pick 19 mark. Start of the second round, which is around pick 20, depending on compensation, things like that, and then so on and so on. So really just depends on how much they're offered, what age the player is, and things like that kind of come into those factors.
Exactly. And that's part of the reason why you might be hearing something along the lines of Essendon and St Kilda trying to pull off a sneaky sort of deal, which enables us to create a free pick out of nothing. That is an exploitation of this compensation rule, which has been around for some time now, trying to sort of help out clubs that lose out on really important players. What we're sort of trying to do in that deal, put simply, is we're willing to pay up more for Gresham to give St Kilda a compensation pick, which would be in the first round, and they would then give that on to us for someone like Dylan Shield. So what you end up doing is what that sort of agreement does is it has created a free first round draft pick out of nothing, thanks to the AFL compensation system.
Yeah, all just depending on what you go and trade Gresham for, right? So yeah. If Essendon only offer a small pick, then yeah.
Correct. If Essendon doesn't pay up in order to trigger to get it into the first round, then that sort of shenanigans won't be as extravagant. It might only be a second round or end of second round pick, for example, to St Kilda, and whether or not they want to do that trade or not is a different story. After that, we've got a national draft combine from Friday, October 6th to Sunday, October 8th. It is a weekend where it is an amazing opportunity for the best national talent around the country to get together and show club recruiters what they've got.
Yeah. It's interesting because a few of these top picks at the moment, I know Daniel Curtin said, hey, I don't want to be in this combine. I don't know if that's a West Coast thing. I think Nick Watson's come out and said, I don't want to be in this combine. I want to be a good draft pick. I think even Harley Reid's come out and said, hey, I don't want to be in this combine. So, it's obviously the stats and working out the raw statistics from all these players. But sometimes clubs who, some player that they're trying to go after, let's not tell everyone else that they're really good as well. There's always good footage coming out of the draft combine, though. And a lot of these players who were diamonds in the rough at other clubs, especially in their junior years, maybe from the Waffle, maybe from a few of these more regional areas, they always kind of sprout out of nowhere.
Yeah, because there is no doubt when certain players or clubs with really high draft picks, they're already doing their analysis of who to draft well before they get to the combine. They're keeping track of these players and their development through all of the youth competitions, and they're saying, all right, we want this guy and we don't want other people to know about it. Because the combine results can drastically raise or lower the profile of these players. Now, if a club's been in the ear of one particular player, and they sort of have like this backroom or under the table sort of agreement to get there, they don't want to raise their profile. They don't want to do that because they're already set. However, it's for those bolters, the people who haven't got an agreement with a club, trying to do their best to be as eye-catching as possible to get an opportunity at AFL level. They're the ones that are going to try and come to the combine and really dine out and try and break some records by passing by a series of physical tests.
Yeah, and we'll see. It's an interesting one as well because a lot of names just come out everywhere.
So these are the tests that the players will be doing, the physical ones, as you were talking about there, the jumping, the sprinting, the time trial, and the agility tests. They will be doing these ones and trying to break some records or trying to place as high as possible to give themselves every chance of making it onto an AFL list. The state draft combine will also be taking place on Sunday. It's a further 20 players will attend each state combine, depending on where they are and which state it is. They'll be holding it in different venues. I know here in Victoria, they'll be having it at Margaret Court Arena.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one as well because you might not get picked up or might not have a great AFL career, but if you can break some records, every year people are going to talk about you. I'm not saying Nick Nat wasn't a great AFL player, but mate, every year draft combine, can they break Nick Nat's vertical jump record, blah, blah, blah.
Immortalized in the combine. We then get to, of course, where all the juicy stuff happens, the AFL trade period from Monday, October 9 through to Wednesday, October 18, where the players, the trades, the deals all take place. Of course, the ones that, the teams are positive, they're amicable, they've reached a good agreement. They tend to be made fairly early on in the piece. It's always the excitement at the end, though, when people are trying to sneak in the deadline.
Yeah, and the good thing about this that people might not realise is if you went back and had a look at the free agency dates, the AFL trade period and the free agency dates actually mesh over as well. So you might have a player where, the contract doesn't work out, but they can still come across in a trade, or vice versa as well. They might have someone who North Melbourne's trying to poach that classifies as a free agent. But because we don't want to dilute Ben Mackay's compensation, we might try and offer a pick instead of swapping for that player, just straight up.
Yeah, a lot of maneuvering, a lot of tactics. That's why these list managers and recruiting people are paid the big bucks in their jobs, and why we can't wait to finally be rid of the Doro. This is his last one. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
Joe.
Yeah, I know. But as you can see here, guys, clubs can continue to trade draft picks after this period. So they can obviously trade players and draft picks. But even after this period runs out, from between October 23 and November 10, clubs are able to continue to trade draft picks before the national draft starts.
Yeah, I think it's basically up until about draft night, where after that they can do live trading on draft night as well. So
correct. There's also some opportunities for delisted players, right?
Yep. So if a player doesn't get a contract at a club, maybe the clubs don't want to do a deal or things like that. Other clubs can come in and try and poach those players. So if you understand AFL contracts, they all expire October 31st. After October 31st, then a player becomes available to basically go and get from any other club.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple of windows in here between November 1st to November 8 and November 10 for players who are out of contract and those who have been delisted. So they both have a couple of opportunities for them to try and make their way to another club without having to elect to go to the draft. If they're picked up by another club, then they don't have to worry about going to the draft. So that's what this extra window is for.
Yep.
Speaking of the draft, it's on November. It starts Monday, November 20. You know where we will be. That's right. And you will be with us.
Hopefully you can join us for the draft. We won't be able to show it live, but you can definitely get our reactions to that over the first day and then into the second day as well. Last year we had DR on. We'll try and get a few more guests, a few more, super coach and AFL personalities as well to come on. It should be a lot of fun. The indicative draft order can change. I'm not sure if we have a slide for that next, but depending on free agency trades, obviously, that number will go up and down. It's really looking like with, as I said, free agency, academy picks, things like that, where the bids come in, pushes the picks below it. The round one this year might go up to about round 26 or 24. Sorry, pick 26 or 27. There's a lot of very good players going early. Should be great.
Yeah. So this is just as of October 2nd. These are the picks as they currently stand. Who owns what? Of course, as you're saying, these picks are not set in stone in terms of where certain players are selected. This is due to the matching of bids on certain players. For example, we know that the Gold Coast Suns have 3 top 10 caliber players in their academy, in their next generation academy, and Gold Coast have this extra protection or assistance from the AFL, which enables them to match any bids on their academy players, even if they're in the top 10. So you might find any of those teams in the top 10 might decide, hey, I want to have this Gold Coast team, this Gold Coast player. They will match by using up draft points and using draft picks in order to eventually get them to their team. So a lot of these picks that you see here will end up actually just being pushed down the picking order because of the matching of that bid.
Yeah. So it's a really tricky one, because if you're a team that has a pick in the teens and that's kind of their first pick, your first pick, you thought it was like pick 12. Maybe it's going to be like pick 18. Now, yes, it does mean that, the available players were there. So you're not losing out on the available draft pool, but potentially your pick's not worth as much at the trade table.
Correct. That is only for the first round. The second round of the draft continues the following evening on Tuesday, November 21, and that goes through until all of the draft pick selections have been made. There's also on the day, rookies are given the opportunity to be promoted up to the primary list. Rookies are, as you guys will see in a second, extra players on the rookie list on each club, which enables them to have extra players from different backgrounds that they otherwise wouldn't be able to fit on their primary or senior list.
Yeah, and there's a lot of draft shuffling and, contract shuffling and things like that, because generally an AFL list will have, 36 to 38 players, and then a rookie list might have about 4. I think it's about 4 to 6 on the rookie list. The thing with the rookie list, though, is that those players who are under the rookie contracts, half of their money is outside of the salary cap. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on Wednesday, November 22nd, you got the AFL preseason draft, which is at 3 o'clock, just before the rookie draft, which is at 3:20. In the preseason draft, it's the place for any uncontracted players to get to nominate if they missed out on getting selected in the national draft or they were delisted after the national draft took place. This is a chance for them to put their hands up saying, please give me another shot. Pick me. I promise I won't let you down.
Yeah, you always see some bolters come through. A few of these kind of sneaky players who, hey, maybe we don't got a senior spot, but you can come on our team. One of the things to note as well is that every year your senior list must have 3 list additions, which is generally taken from the national draft, but you can actually elevate players to the senior list as well, and they count. So you might only have 1 draft pick. Hey, you can turn these rookies into senior players with your, comparable picks right at the end, and then it counts as 3.
Yeah, exactly. And as we said, the rookie draft, players from outside your senior list, they could be from non-traditional recruiting backgrounds, even from overseas, different sporting codes. There's different categories. There's category A and category B. Probably won't get into those right here, right now. But those are just extra opportunities for players to get on to an AFL list. So that was the crash course on all things AFL trade and draft period. We hope you learnt something new today.
Mate, you didn't even have to go to uni to do that. Just watch our video, and then the next 3 weeks you kind of know what's going on.
Exactly. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Leave it down in the comments down below, or hit us up on Twitter at bounce_center, or you could hit me up at chabby_Joe. We are more than happy to help out in any way, shape, or form. Also, please stay tuned, because we will be, as we've mentioned, talking all things trades as they come, and we'll be live streaming the national draft.
National draft as well, yeah. I really think, Joe, this year there's going to be a lot of trades happening. So, mate, we're going to be stuck making a lot of videos, but I love it.
I hope you guys don't get sick of us. You're only going to see more of us to come. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next one, guys.
Catch ya.